I don't like Hermes. I don't like their style, I don't like their bags, I don't like their ready-to-wear, but I do believe that they're the best luxury brand there is out there. You know, we've all seen this hierarchy of luxury brands where Hermes really sits at the tippity top and LVMH is basically this second tier of luxury. And the numbers don't lie, so we've seen right now that the luxury industry as a whole hasn't been doing as well. You know, LVMH just released their Q2 earnings and they've actually failed to meet their expectations for revenue growth. There are even some luxury brands like YSL that have lowered their prices just to be able to get volume of sales up. Meanwhile, Hermes has been able to supersede all these kinds of expectations and meet double-digit growth. Now, I'm Alice, and I have mentioned in previous videos that I've worked in the fashion industry space, particularly when it comes to sustainability. And through that lens, I've come to learn an understanding of the fashion industry supply chain. And that is why I believe that Hermes is the #1 luxury brand. Now, I have mentioned that I don't like Hermes, and that's actually because I don't like their style. I don't like their leather goods, and I don't like their ready-to-wear, which ironically are the two areas where Hermes experienced that double-digit growth. Like, when you look at this bag, and all the Hermes bags that I'll be showing, by the way, are not mine, they are my mother's, I just find them pretty outdated. Now, I get it. It has a huge amount of heritage, but I don't agree with the story of the Birkin bag. So I get it. This bag must be more practical than Jane Birkin's original picnic bag. But you can't convince me that this bag is a practical bag. First of all, this bag is so heavy because of the fact that it's all leather. Once you start putting a lot of things in it, because it's meant to be a tote bag, it gets so heavy. And if it's heavy, you would think that you'd be able to put this on your shoulder. You cannot. You can really only put it at the crook of your arm. And if you go into the smaller sizes, you can't even do that. So I just feel like the intended functionality of the bag doesn't meet its form. In fact, most people today don't even use the Birkin for its intended use. They use it as basically a status symbol. What's more, you can't even close this bag. So you leave it open all the time. If you live in somewhere like Singapore, it doesn't matter leaving it open all the time. But if you're intending to use this throughout the world, or you're gonna use it as your airplane bag, where you're gonna put a bunch of stuff in it, having it not be able to close is a huge con for me. So I don't think that any of the bags, even the Kelly is the same. You have a shoulder strap, and the shoulder strap can't be used as a crossbody. It's not adjustable. Now, this is in a rattan style, so it's easier to get in and out of, but my mom also has a Cellier style that's just so hard to get in and out of. And even if we go to other things, like, I don't find their ready-to-wear that nice, to be honest. It's cheaper than other brands for sure. And don't get me started about their Oran sandals. Those are the most flimsiest, loud, and basic sandals I've ever seen. Even their non-quota bags. So this is the Lindy 26. I think this is probably the only bag that I kind of really like. I like that you can put your phone here. I like that you can carry it in multiple ways with the strap, but like, I don't like that you can't remove it. And I don't like that it is kind of hard to get in and out of. Similar to the Hermes Birkin and Kelly, it has these two things where you lock it, then you have to unlock it, take it out. And so I just don't find the functionality of Hermes bags to be all that appealing, and nor do I find the style to be that great. Maybe it's just my age, and it's something where I'll eventually come to like, but at this point of time, I don't really like Hermes for its style, nor do I really like it for its customer experience at its retail outlets. I'm just not someone who really cares about building a relationship with someone, buying a bunch of things just to be given the opportunity to buy a bag that I might not even want. But the reason I believe that Hermes is the top luxury brand has to do with its supply chain and how it runs its business. Now, when we think of luxury brands, obviously we think about the customer retail experience, but we also believe in the heritage of the brand and the craftsmanship and quality of its goods, both of which Hermes does better than other brands. Now, why is this? So let's start from sourcing. So we all know by now that LVMH and Dior in particular has outsourced some, if not all, of their bags to other leather artisan companies. And the reason for this is LVMH is a huge brand and they can't keep up with the volume of product they want to sell with the amount of leather artisans they have in-house. And this is partially due to the fact that in Italy itself, leather artisanship is a dying trade. There are fewer and fewer Europeans who are interested in becoming a leather artisan, and it takes years and years of dedicated work to become one. So LVMH's option for this is to outsource it to other companies. And who is filling in that gap? Well, Chinese labor, who will then move to Italy so that they can retain their Made in Italy brand. So how is Hermes different from LVMH? Well, Hermes is different in the sense that based on its website, all of their leather goods are made at 12 leatherston artisan factories that are owned by Hermes. So Hermes has a lot of control over how much they produce, how they produce it, because it's all in-house. So unlike LVMH, where they have decided to fill in the gap of volume that they can create through outsourcing, Hermes has made very dedicated moves in the industry to invest in its supply chain and invest in ensuring that this leather artisan trade doesn't die. So where you see LVMH thinking about the retail experience, maybe how they can get customers, marketing, Hermes doesn't actually market as much as LVMH does. And yet people are still interested in buying them. And that primarily has to do with its consistent quality that stems from its commitment to the leather artisans. So how can Hermes do this? They do this because they have very calculated growth. So LVMH is probably a free-for-all. They create new bags all the time. They see what sells. They have huge amounts of stock. Whereas we already know that Hermes has a waiting list, and that can be artificial in times, but a lot of the time it isn't. And it's because Hermes actually caps its growth to about 7 to 8% a year in terms of volume. So they will not sell more than 7 to 8% of the total amount of bags that they sell a year, because they have a dedication to the kinds of bags that they're selling. They don't want to sacrifice on quality, and they know that they can't keep up with quality if they were to increase more than that 7 to 8%, because they, as I mentioned, seem to have everything in-house. Now, I'm not 100% sure if everything is in-house, but based on its website, it says that leather goods are created at these 12 leather artisan factories. And these factories are probably huge, by the way. So having production caps in volume allow the brand to have consistency in terms of quality and such great bags and after-service care as well. So where you see other bags like LVMH or even Chanel having horrendous aftercare supply, you can bring any bag, even like from the 40s, the 60s, back to Hermes boutiques and they'll take care of it for you. Now, if you can only grow the volume of your bags 7 to 8% a year, how does Hermes have double-digit revenue growth? Well, they probably do this in other ways. For example, they would increase their prices. And so you have higher prices, but only a smaller amount of increase in the volume. Overall, you'll still get quite a bit of revenue growth. So we're seeing that there's a huge amount of dedication to its supply chain and its craftsmanship. And that's really where, when you understand Hermes and its sense of heritage, it really stands out. But what else about Hermes makes it so compelling? Well, obviously, it's also in the way its storefront is structured. You know, Hermes has given a lot of independence to individual boutiques to figure out who gets to sell, how they get to sell the items. But really, it's this idea that Hermes gets to choose its customers, not the other way around. And that kind of illusion of luxury really entices people and draws them in.
It's 4,000.
I know.
And there's a waiting list.
I assumed.
5 years.
For a bag?
It's not a bag. It's a Birkin.
And I think that's also why where you see LVMH and other kinds of brands, like even the Kering Group, doing less well, you still see Hermes doing really well because, as I mentioned, they've already chosen their customers, and they've chosen customers who have extremely deep pockets and are generally unaffected by economic downturns or shifts. But these customers can still choose to purchase elsewhere. But why don't they? Well, it must be because their products are also good. And the last reason, and this is the reason which I don't necessarily agree with, it's the reason that I don't like Hermes, which is its style. I don't like Hermes, but I can't deny that the Hermes style is unique. They don't go in the business of copying another brand. They're not like, oh, we see that the Louis Vuitton Speedy is doing really well, so I'm going to make a Speedy. But you do see that in other LVMH companies because it's one conglomerate and I'm sure they're talking to each other. I will be talking about this in another video about how I feel like brands are getting lazy, but that's for another video. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to watch it. But Hermes isn't like that, and I think that's what really caters to its audience. It knows who it is. It stays true to its roots. It isn't going to find the next fad and just work on that. It's committed to the luxury name in all fronts, in its retail front, in its supply chain, and in its employees. In fact, I don't think they disclose how much leather artisans make, but they say they pay well above what other companies do. So, well, unfortunately, there isn't anything that I personally would like to buy at Hermes. I do respect it as a brand, and eventually if they do come out with something that I would personally like to buy, you know I'd be buying it. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!